What in the Phantom Menace did we just watch? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
This is our spoiler chat for episode 5 of
The Mandalorian.
Boba Fett. Because we get nerdy nightly.
And we thought we'd share it with you.
Oh no, I'm on the wrong thing. No title today. We're going straight into it.
Great.
Okay, what's up, Clarus?
Oh, well, I'm confused.
All right, so in our spoiler chats, we usually go through everything chronologically.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try something new today.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about the episode and what we feel about it and things we notice and stuff like that. But in order to do that, I feel like we do need to talk about the plot really quickly. So I want you to very quickly explain the plot of this episode.
Okay, the plot of the episode is that baby daddy don't got a baby no more.
Okay.
And so he's trying to find information from somebody so he can get to the other Mandalorians who fight him for the Dark Saber.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wins and then tells them he took off his helmet, and so they tell him to leave.
And then what happens? That's like a third of the episode.
Oh, right.
No, that's like half. That's like half the episode.
Right. And then so baby daddy's sad, wants to see his baby, goes finds a ship that's not his ship, and builds it overnight with curly haired lady with lots of attitude and droids that are useless and don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then almost gets arrested.
Yeah.
And doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's the plot.
Yeah.
That's the plot.
What an episode of the Book of Boba Fett.
Who?
Good question. He's brought up at the end. He's mentioned at the end.
He is mentioned.
Boba?
It's his own show, and it's been stolen from him.
Not stolen, but this is a very clear choice.
This is like probably the best episode of the show, and Boba Fett's not in it.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Like that is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm honestly kind of bothered by it. I loved the episode.
Yeah.
That is not it. I enjoyed what they did, the story that was told, the information that was given to us. I hate that I was watching the Book of Boba Fett while I was given all this. And it just enforces the whole thing with Star Wars, where it's been less so up until now, but now it's you have to watch everything.
I don't know that you have to watch everything, but you have to watch, to understand any, like, small section, you have to watch everything within that small section, right? Like, you don't have to be paying attention to the High Republic to understand Boba Fett, but if you want to watch Boba Fett, you have to watch Mandalorian. And if you want to watch Mandalorian, you kind of have to have seen Clone Wars. And if you want to watch Ahsoka, you're going to have to have seen Mandalorian, Clone Wars, Rebels. And so it is starting to get to the point where all of these things are so connected.
Yeah, and we have all this like other stuff coming out, like Andor is coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or did
that one won't be connected to this world though.
Okay,
but
it's just like one of those things where I'm like, where does it end?
Well, Star Wars being an interconnected galaxy does this, but how small? There is the argument of how small do we have to make the galaxy and all of these things. What I will say about this episode is, it is an episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
but Boba Fett got his armor back in The Mandalorian, which we probably won't see in the Book of Boba Fett. So these two shows are essentially already tied together in that way.
But Din was in that episode.
Oh, no. But what I'm saying is, like, I think that from a production standpoint, they are treating The Mandalorian Season 1, Season 2, and Book of Boba Fett Season 1 as a continuing story. And I think Din Djarin is going to be in... There's only 2 episodes left, right? I think he's in the last 2. And so I think that this is going to be a thing where if you want to watch the Book of Boba Fett, you have to keep up with The Mandalorian, because these characters are going to be so connected and these storylines are going to be so connected that it is essentially Season 3. We are watching Season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel that way until this episode, but now I feel like the last 2 episodes it's going to feel that way because you can't get away from it. And you can't get away from the fact that Din Djarin is not burdened with the same expectation that Boba Fett is, because was created in The Mandalorian, and all we know about him is that one show and that one tone. Mm-hmm. And Boba Fett has existed in so many different shows and in so many different tones that depending on where you met Boba Fett, you're going to have a different relationship to him.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the reaction online so far has been like, well, why hasn't the Boba Fett show felt like this the whole time? And it's because the Boba Fett show had to create its own thing. Mm-hmm. And try and meld these different versions of Boba Fett from Clone Wars, from the prequel movies, from what we understand about him from the original trilogy, as well as expectations from fans like me who were excited to see stuff and references to the holiday special, right? We're getting all of that in Boba Fett. And whereas Din can show up without all that baggage and just kind of deliver a really excellent episode of The Mandalorian that, quite frankly, might be my favorite episode of The Mandalorian. In terms of, like, a story that is very succinct, very emotionally driven, like, the stuff with the armorer in this episode is remarkable and deep and painful, and, like, the way that she shows him forgiveness and then cuts him out at the end of that, the way I think it's Pre Vizsla wants to fight him, and the way that fight goes down, watching someone wield a lightsaber who doesn't have the Force and burn themselves with it because they are not attuned to using a lightsaber, and how dangerous that weapon is. We talk about, well, why is it only Jedi? We've been talking about that for 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Now we're finally seeing why it's only Jedi, and it totally makes sense. It looks awesome. And I was so... There was so much to love here that I was like, if you're going to watch Mandalorian Season 3 now, you have to have seen Book of Boba Fett, because I'm assuming this is just going to carry forward. Yeah. It's tough. It's getting tough.
Yeah. I just don't, I don't know how I feel right now, because I really liked it, but I still stand by the, like, I don't think that is where this information belongs. Because we're given a lot. Like, you won't be able to watch the next season of The Mandalorian without having watched Boba Fett. And I don't know if people know that. Like, I don't know if there are, like, because look, there are, like, normies out there who just will, like, see a show and throw it on, and they kind of like Star Wars, they kind of like space stuff, and that's, like, cool. You don't have to be a freaking nerd like us to be able to enjoy this stuff. And somebody's gonna be like, yeah, I watched Mandalorian and I really enjoyed that. Let's watch the next season. And there's going to be stuff in there, if they haven't watched Boba Fett, that they're going to be like, what the hell? You know, maybe they don't follow Twitter. They don't know that this is supposed to be so deeply interconnected. And I think that that's going to be a real failing on Disney's part, because there will be those people and they will be confused. Because the things that came up in today's episode are absolutely next season Mandalorian problems. Absolutely. They're going to be like, where did this armor come from? What happened to the spear? All this stuff that we learn about the Dark Saber, unless they go over everything again, it's going to be weird for those people. And I feel bad.
I think that they're just assuming that people are watching it all.
Well,
and I think that that's their expectation.
They're wrong, because people don't have time, right? People have to be selective with the content that they consume.
I don't know about that. I think that, like, at one episode a week, and it's only 7 episodes, I think it's reasonable for them to expect that a majority of the fan base of these TV shows is going to watch them.
I don't think so. I think Mandalorian had crazy hype around it. People love The Mandalorian, and it was beloved by Star Wars fans and by people who were maybe not diehard Star Wars fans, right? Coming into this,
Grogu helped.
You know, baby Yoda was a thing, and it is a thing. Baby Yoda is a thing, and even people who are not Star Wars people understand the Baby Yoda reference, and maybe not all of them have watched the show, but
like, my mom knows who Baby Yoda... Well, actually, my mom likes Star Wars, but, like, my stepdad knows who Baby Yoda is.
Right, knows who Baby Yoda is, and, like...
Maybe doesn't know that his name is Grogu, but knows who Baby Yoda is.
Sure, but, like, those people may not choose to throw on Boba Fett, because Boba Fett does not have the same hype around it. It is not as good, and so...
It's not even the most watched show on TV right now. Do you know what it is? No. Peacemaker. Peacemaker is pulling in higher weekly numbers than Boba Fett right now.
Nice. That's good. Peacemaker's fantastic. But that's what I mean. The hype that was around Mandalorian is not there around Boba Fett, and there are going to be people who go back to Mandalorian because they have enjoyed it, because it was in the cultural mindset, and they're going to be lost.
My argument against that, just about Mandalorian, is that season 2... And I was talking about that on my new Star Wars podcast, Jawa Chatter. You can find Jawa Chatter everywhere on the internet. Me, Jeffers, and Claudia talking about Star Wars over there. But I was talking about Clone Wars on that, where, like, season 2 of Mandalorian already said we don't really care if you are a casual fan of Star Wars. Season 2 already pulled that. It introduced Boba Fett back in. It introduced Bo-Katan, who is a or at least was a deep cut, and now isn't, because Bo-Katan is going to be very important moving forward. Introduced like the concept of the Dark Saber. Like there is an element of Mandalorian season 2 that isn't isn't accessible already. They've kind of already crossed that bridge.
No, it's completely different, I think, because
Ahsoka randomly shows up for one episode, and with no introduction to who she is, with no reference to anything. She just shows up.
Yes, but you get the important bits. Ahsoka is a Jedi, very clearly, and that is like the point and plot of the show. If you go into Mandalorian season 3 and you don't know that Din told them that he removed his helmet, you don't know this stuff about the Dark Saber and being heavy and its past and where it comes from and the curse and all this like stuff that they talk about today. You don't know that Mando fought this other guy for it. That might be important later. He might come back and like re-challenge him. You don't know. And the armor. There is so much in this episode that you now cannot go into season 3 of Mandalorian without watching it.
Well, and at the end of this episode, Din says, "I'm down to help you, but I have to go visit my friend first." So I'm almost assuming that we're gonna go see Baby Yoda
in Boba Fett.
In Boba Fett,
I think so.
And so when they said, because they said at the end of Mandalorian season 2 that they're treating Boba Fett as Mandalorian chapter 3.
Yeah.
Like I think it was a Dave Filoni quote or a Jon Favreau quote. That's the way that they're doing it, and so they are expecting that you're watching these shows.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll connect to Obi-Wan. I don't think it'll connect to Andor. But the post Empire, or sorry, the post Return of the Jedi shows that live in the Mandoverse, you have to watch all of the Mandoverse to understand all of it. And they are banking on the fact. And here's the thing, to their credit, Disney has been the most successful entertainment company thanks to the fact that Marvel does that. Right? And Marvel has shown them a pathway to do this. And so if they're going, it might be Disney going, "Hey, Star Wars, we need you to behave like Marvel does." And this might be mandated, right? This might be like, no, tie the shows together so that people have to watch all of it to stay connected to Mandalorian. And then it pushes the Boba Fett numbers and people get through Boba Fett if they don't like it. I'm liking Boba Fett so far. Other than like one episode, I do really like the show. But there are people who don't, but they're still going to watch the whole thing so that when Mandalorian Season 3 comes out, they're there with it, right? And so I think that this is almost how this is more, I think, about how streaming services are trying to set up their content to keep you subscribing month to month, rather than, it might not honestly be a creative decision.
It's a money grab.
Or...
It's a money grab.
But we don't know that. The other side of it is, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni might go to a microphone and say, "Hey, this is my artistic expression. If you don't like it, you don't like it, that's fine. But this is the art that I wanted to create." And from that perspective, I think that what they're doing is incredible, right? If this is what they want to do, then who am I to be like, "Well, no, but what about the casual audience?" And they're like, "We're making a hardcore Star Wars show for hardcore Star Wars fans. If other people get on board, great." But like for them, they reference so much Phantom Menace in this episode. So much Phantom Menace. Which is why the title of this video is "What in the Phantom Menace Was That?"
Yeah.
We get my favorite Star Wars ship, the N1 Starfighter, okay? We got the N1 back. Kids, the N1 is back in Star Wars. It isn't yellow anymore, which I'm like, I like the chrome, but I'm like slightly disappointed. I know, but I wanted...
They gave it the little touch.
I love the yellow.
Oh, I totally get it.
We got the N1 Starship as the main starfighter of our main character in Mandalorian, which...
It's dope.
I will buy that Lego set. I have the Razor Crest, but I will buy that Lego set. Please make it huge. Make it like I want a big chrome N1 hanging in the shot. It would be so cool. Amazing. Just like we'll suspend it from the ceiling.
I do want to get into all the things that we enjoyed about this episode, because there are things I just want to say like last, and then we'll move on to what's actually in the episode. But I think it is really unfortunate that they are going to alienate an audience this way. And I just hope that they have some like advertising and promo that when it comes out for Mandalorian Season 3 that encourages people to watch Boba Fett. And that's all I'm going to say. And maybe they're going to do this properly, because like Marvel's always kind of been tied into Marvel. And I just, that's the only thing that I'm really hopeful, because Mandalorian is so good. And yeah, Boba Fett has its shortcomings, but I just hope that people know that they are missing out on things if they haven't seen Boba Fett. But yeah, let's get into like what we liked about the episode, because
we're 14 minutes in.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, come on. That's like...
What did you like about the episode? Let's not go back again. What did you like about the episode?
I like what you like, the Starfighter, the Phantom Menace stuff. That was really, really fun. I loved the lore with the Dark Saber, and we got a little more flashbacks.
Yeah, the Dark Saber is heavy if you're trying to fight it, which is so fascinating. Like the fact that, because we've never seen that before from a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And the Dark Saber, admittedly, is different than other lightsabers, right? Like it is fundamentally different in how it was constructed by Tar Vizsla. Like it is similar, but it is slightly different. And that has always been important to the Dark Saber, that it exists in a different way in the canon than the other lightsabers do.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
They talk about the spear, the Beskar spear, right? And how the Beskar is not meant for weapons. It is meant for protection. But that doesn't apply to the Dark Saber.
I think the difference is that the Dark Saber was created as a Tar Vizsla created the Dark Saber because there was a war between Mandalore and the Jedi, and Tar Vizsla becoming a Jedi was the canon. It's a lot of canon stuff, but
fair enough.
Essentially the Dark Saber is a weapon, but it is a weapon in the sense that Jedi have weapons for defense, and also it is a symbol of this moment in the galaxy where Tar Vizsla joined the Jedi and became part of that order, and kind of like brought I don't want to say an end to the wars between the Mandalorian and the Jedi, but brought a kind of peace for a while, right?
Okay.
And I think that it is as much a artifact of their culture as it is a weapon.
Okay.
It also has a different kind of Beskar in it, so that could be part of it. Also, this clan's view on the code of Mandalore is very different from other clans of Mandalore. So it is just there's a lot of reasons why it could be that.
Okay, because I kind of thought it was interesting that they talked about it with the spear, and then they didn't mention it with. They talked about that the Dark Saber was also Beskar, but then no one said anything about it's fine if it's a weapon. So I just thought if maybe you had knowledge, I didn't.
I know. I really do think that it is the respect for the importance to their culture. Like the Dark Saber is so important to the tale that Mandalorians tell themselves about their culture that I feel like they can't, to destroy that would be considered, similar to destroying any sort of like Christian artifact that we think Jesus actually touched, or, those kinds of things that we have in real life that are, they exist outside of the rules because they are so important. It's like how Grand Central Station in New York is radioactive. There is more radiation coming off of the stone in Grand Central than is legal in the United States for any building, because a lot of stone have radiation in them, right? And so Grand Central Station gives off more radiation than is legally allowed in the United States of America. But we don't tear down Grand Central because it is so important a cultural landmark to the United States.
What about the people who work there?
I mean, like, the chances of it being like that much radiation it's so negligible for one location.
But like, if it's past the legal limit and you work there 9 to 5.
Yeah, but the legal limit isn't like, it's not like the line is here and the dangerous line is here. The line is here and the dangerous line is like here.
I mean, I don't know. That seems a little irresponsible, but anyways.
But that's the point. Like, we as a culture, and not we, because we have no say, but we as a culture have decided that Grand Central is important enough that we don't tear it down because of the radiation. And I think that is similar to what is happening with the Dark Saber.
Okay, all right. All right. I wish that they I don't know. They do talk about the history of it and the significance of it. It was interesting that they didn't mention that it was also a weapon when they melted down the spear. Even though
get that.
The spear seems very useful, but it becomes armor for Grogu.
But it becomes the little chainmail. I'm going to lose my shit when he puts that on.
More merch for Disney.
I cannot believe... the whole episode being about how Din misses him is just, like, heartbreaking and beautiful.
I know, he's like, I want to make sure he's okay. I'm like, oh, baby daddy.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the armor, her comments about how, like, that's not their way. Their way is to give up attachment. And Din was like, yeah, but that's not our way. And the armor was like,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. Screw them Jedi. Let's make him some armor. Like, I love that. And I thought it was beautiful.
Oh, God.
But then Pre Vizsla wants to, Jon Favreau's got to come in and ruin everything.
That's Jon Favreau?
Yeah, Jon Favreau voices Pre Vizsla.
Oh, I thought it was him physically.
I mean, for some of it might be. I doubt it, though.
Okay.
I bet it's just his voice. Because I don't even know if Pedro Pascal was ever in the suit for this. He's not in the suit for a lot of the first season of Mandalorian, so like it's
Really?
entirely. Oh yeah,
He just has a body double.
well yeah, because it's he's a busy man, and if he's got the helmet on, so who even knows? Who knows how much?
That's why they don't take the helmets off, so they can save money. Makes sense. Budget.
Yeah, but then they have every other Mandalorian take their helmet off. I really appreciated this fight. This is the level of, and look, the Black Chrysanthemum fight in the room, I'm very critical of the way that it's shot. I think it's too much shaky cam. I think it's too many weird close-ups. They don't allow the choreography to breathe on film.
Yeah.
That is the opposite of here. I understood every beat of this. I understood like the relative power level of the two men. I appreciated that the Dark Saber was heavy for both of them, and that really played. I think that, and I really want to credit Bryce Dallas Howard. This show and Mandalorian have proven that Bryce Dallas Howard is a phenomenal director. She directed the 4th episode of the first season of Mandalorian, where he stays with that small fishing village and they have to fight the AT-AT.
Yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard is proving through Star Wars that she crafts visual stories in a fascinating way. And I saw someone online to be like, hey, if you want a female director for a Star Wars movie, give it to Bryce Dallas Howard. She's clearly capable of telling fantastic stories in this universe. And I couldn't agree more. If Patty Jenkins can't do Rogue Squadron, give it to Bryce Dallas Howard. This episode is directed divinely. Like, seriously, I think it's fantastic. I'm not joking. I thought this morning's Boba Fett was beautiful. I thought the fighting choreography looked great. Yeah, I know, right? I thought the visuals of the flying in space, I don't know how much Bryce Dallas Howard has to do with that, but when that Naboo starfighter was flying over Mos Eisley,
so good.
This episode was fantastic. And I think that Bryce Dallas Howard is a lot of that. And I think that, like, if Disney is going, our next Star Wars movie has to be directed by a woman, give it to her. She gets this universe. Visually, aesthetically, action-wise, she clearly gets it. And I can't say enough good words about her. Every episode she's directed so far I've loved. And I didn't know it was her until after the credits popped up. It was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. And I was like, oh yeah, of course, it's great. Yeah. She's a great actress, but I think she might be a better director than she's an actress. I've seen her in anything, but... Well, you haven't seen Jurassic World. No. You haven't seen The Help. I'm trying to think of... Oh, no. Spider-Man 3. Who? She is Gwen Stacy. She's the blonde.
Yo, shut up.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah, she's great. I think she might be a better director than an actress, and that's not a diss. That is just me complimenting the shit out of her.
No, she's fantastic. Yeah. This, and that's the thing. That's why I feel so weird, because I loved this episode, but I'm like, I don't know if it belonged here. That's all.
Can we reference some prequel stuff?
Yeah.
We get the N1 Starfighter, but that's not the only thing. We also get Din Djarin getting out of an N1 Starfighter going... Amy Sedaris walks over and she goes, how was it? And he goes, wizard.
I don't get it. You freaked out and I still am confused.
People have been complaining about the fact that they say wizard in The Phantom Menace since 1999.
When did they say it?
About the pod race scene. About the pod racer. That's wizard, Annie. Yeah, yeah. It's in The Phantom Menace.
So they threw it in here to be like, this is slang for
because we referenced the Phantom Menace in this episode, and I love the Phantom Menace. Everyone knows it. I am a big fan of the Phantom Menace, and all of the Phantom Menace love in this episode brought me so much joy, but none more than Pedro Pascal going, it's wizard.
I'm going to start using it. I'm going to stop saying dope, and I'm going to say it's wizard.
It's going to be a clip on my channel. There's no way it's not. There's no way it's not. Yeah. It is the best soundbite in Star Wars right now. I never thought in my life I would get a Mandalorian getting out of an N1 starship saying it's wizard. Yeah. Like, it's the craziest bit of joy for me personally.
And that ship looked fantastic.
Talking about something that's also technically a prequel to the original trilogy, but came much later. The droid. BD! I hope that's not BD1. Like, I hope that is not Cal Kestis' BD1. Because if it is, what happened to Cal? They have not explained that in the games yet, and I need to know. But, like, seeing a BD unit and it being just... I really wanted it to join him and be his droid.
Cute. Like, it was so cute. I don't know the reference.
So Fallen Order.
Yeah.
There is a BD unit that sits on Cal's back the whole time.
Oh, okay.
And like when you heal, it shoots a healing draft in the air, and you like grab it and you inject yourself with it.
It's so cute. Like I love it.
BD1 is Cal Kestis' R2D2.
Gotcha.
And over the course of that video game, you fall so deeply in love with that droid. It is incredible. Literally incredible. Because at the beginning of the game, it doesn't remember anything, and it's just like this like lost puppy that you like adopt, and then it becomes your best friend. And I never thought we would see one live action, because I figured like they would keep it to the game universe. That was their creation. And the fact that we got a BD unit, and that like Din Djarin is like arguing with it about where to put the flashlight, I was like, God damn it, this is so good.
Yeah.
But this is what I love about Star Wars, right? They're not afraid to reference the Phantom Menace. They're not afraid to reference the video games. This stuff all adds to each other. And so the complaint about the universe and like how accessible things are is valid. But at the same time, I love that this episode had so many things from so many different eras of Star Wars mashed together into an episode of television that never felt tonally out of place with itself. They mashed things from all of these different places, and the whole time I was like, yeah, those things go together, and that's rad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This episode was fantastic, like from top to bottom. Everything like linearly was just really well executed.
The stick that they put the whatever it was, the hyperdrive speed thing that they need from the Jawas
take
is the metal stick from the trash compactor scene in A New Hope.
I thought it looked familiar.
What a weird deep cut to go all the way back to the stick that they're trying to brace the walls and the trash compactor with.
I thought it looked familiar, and I was like, Ariel, that's dumb. It's a pole. Like,
no, it was very clearly that.
Okay.
And
okay.
I love that.
Cool.
Why the Empire threw one away in its internal garbage disposal, I have no idea. But
who knows?
There's just so many references here. Also, getting the New Republic pilots back as cops.
Having you said who was it? The person who was
the younger one. Let's actually pull up his name.
Spoilers. This is a spoiler for Mandalorian season 2. Just in case.
New Republic. I want to get his name, but he was the body double for Luke Skywalker in the Mandalorian finale of season 2. What is this guy's name?
Wow, they make it really difficult to find.
So Paul Sun-Hyung Lee obviously shows up again.
Yeah, Max Lloyd Jones, is that it?
Max Lloyd Jones joins the team as a New Republic pilot after getting to be the body double for Luke Skywalker. And I love that they've given him lines and a role, and his face is in Star Wars now, not just his like torso and body. No, but that's huge, right? And I love Mandalorian season 1 brought in the Anakin voice actor from the Clone Wars and gave him a role on the in the jail ship episode. He is the jailer that they are attacking. Like I love that these shows are bringing in all of these actors who have contributed to Star Wars and giving them real like parts that they can, I love to see it. It's really fun. I didn't know that was him at the time. I found out after, but it's those little things about Star Wars that bring me so much joy.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Is there anything we haven't talked about that you like need to get in there? Amy Sedaris was great again. I love having her back.
The one thing we didn't talk about is the fact that she dated a Jawa for a while.
Yeah, they're furry.
Yeah.
Also, watching a human speak Jawa is not comfy.
Weird. I don't like it at all. Please don't do it.
It was great.
It was great,
but it reminded me of when Solo is trying to speak Wookiee in Wookiees in Solo. When he's hanging upside down, he's like,
and you're like, oh god, this is awful.
But this was just clearly like dubbed in a way that like over her mouth, which was just, it was interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of loved it though.
It was a choice.
Because one of the things I've loved about these Mandalorian shows and Boba Fett, we've talked about with the Tuskens, is they have shown that humans have to be able to communicate with these other people, and sometimes that means speaking their language rather than just always speaking through C-3PO, because not everyone has a C-3PO.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of loved they've expanded the understanding of how people communicate in this universe by saying like, hey, humans learn these languages. It's not always just that everyone has to find a way to communicate with humans. They do the work sometimes, and the ones that do the work tend to be respectful, interesting characters.
Yeah.
And I just think that says a lot about how we should communicate in real life, and I think the value of learning other languages and participating in other cultures and like embracing and understanding other cultures empathetically so that you become a more well-rounded human. And I think that I love that this era of Star Wars has really been pushing for us to understand each other better and see each other as more complex beings and seeing the value in that. And so even though there are some missteps in these episodes and these shows, the value of that underlying current of storytelling through them all to me is so high, and I'm so grateful that we're getting them.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, R5 is in this episode. Oh my god, I totally forgot. Guys, ladies, non-binary folks. R5 just casually shows up. And like there is a book called From a Certain Point of View, in which they imply that R5 intentionally blew his gasket in A New Hope so that R2 would end up with Luke Skywalker, because he knew that C-3PO and R2-D2 knew each other, and so he intentionally like blows his gasket in that scene so that they don't get separated from each other. And so R5 has that like ring of the damage from blowing the gasket, and that's From a Certain Point of View. It's like light canon. But
sure, okay.
Having that droid show up with the damage where his gasket blew in A New Hope, like this episode melded all the eras of Star Wars together. It's so crazy. But
yeah, seriously.
R5 was just there. And like, what?
Yeah, that was fun. That was like a nifty little, and something I did not catch on until you said it. And I was like, oh, duh. Like,
yeah.
But nothing that was like distracting, but it just like a nice little like, familiar, like it's just like a warm hug. You're like, that's nice.
The thing I think we haven't talked about is, what do you think of the Dark Saber and the way that it's used in action sequences? Because it's pretty violent.
Yes, it
Mandalorian is. Cuts that I can't remember the pug aliens. He cuts that dude in half.
Oh yeah.
And that does a great job talking his way out of that situation by being like, look, you can have all of that money.
You have that money, yeah.
And I won't kill you. And they're like, free money and we don't get stabbed by the laser sword. Yeah, that's an easy.
Really fascinating. I like. It's definitely gonna. Right now, you just kind of go along and believe that, okay, if you fight against it, it's weird because it's like, is the Dark Saber slightly sentient in a way, or connected with the Force in a way that it's the Force? Like, it's very like nebulous right now. The idea of it is really cool, and I am totally on board and excited to see what they would do with it. I think they need to like give us a little bit more. I
need to understand how Moff Gideon was able to wield it so easily.
Yeah, because we talked about this, and I said, well, he had it for a while, right? Like, so maybe he just like learned to use it. Maybe at the beginning he also like had his difficulties, and I just want to, I want to see like what this process is and how you go about it. There were times where it looked a little wonky.
I don't think so. I thought it looked incredible.
So I've noticed that this happens with lightsabers as well. And it's when it's not like straight on, when it's kind of at an angle and the depth shifts because it's not an actual object.
The Dark Saber isn't. The Dark Saber is flat. It's not rounded like a regular.
No, I know. I mean the light. I think because the light is in post-production, that when it turns towards the camera, when it looks flat on, it's great. It looks like weirdly short. And lightsabers do the same thing. When they're like this towards the camera, they look weirdly short. Because I think that they're done in post, and I know this.
But they are real objects.
Yeah, but I think it's the light.
I think that might be an optical illusion created by the effect of the lightsaber. Because there is a physical stick in the scene.
For sure.
So I think that might be more. I think that might be more like your perception of it.
Yeah, it's just like weird. It's something that I always notice when there are lightsabers, and then I did not notice in the Mandalorian episodes, but maybe I just was not paying. Like I don't know, but I did notice it this time again, where it just has that weird like depth thing, but I'm sure it's just how the post and the light works and the optical illusion of it being, you know what I'm saying.
I thought it was interesting that Bo-Katan, that the armor didn't know Bo-Katan was still alive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the armor says like Bo-Katan is a myth or is like a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Implying that the armor thinks Bo-Katan's dead and she's not.
Yeah, that's
she's very much not.
Spicy. I'm surprised, honestly, that didn't tell her.
Here's the thing. I think that Din, and maybe this is where we should have started with this episode, because this might be the most important thing about it. I don't know that Din still trusts her the same way that he did in Mandalorian. And I think that that's fascinating. Because in The Mandalorian Season 1, he is very free with his information towards her. Mm-hmm. And in this episode, he is very guarded. Mm-hmm. He keeps some secrets from her. Mm-hmm. Until the point where he tells her the truth about the fact that he took his helmet off. Mm-hmm. And I think that was to gauge her reaction. Mm-hmm. And I found that to be really fascinating. And now he's been let go of the Creed. Mm-hmm. And how he's going to respond to being let go of the Creed, I think, is going to be the storytelling of season 3.
Yes,
because I think it gives Pedro Pascal permission to show his face more.
Yeah.
Because now he's out, right? In terms of them.
It doesn't matter.
And I think that season 3 is really going to be about him finding his own way between Bo-Katan and the Armorer. Yeah. And creating a new Mandalore using the Dark Saber to be their leader. I think the show might become about him creating a new version of Mandalore that is kind of in between the two.
Yep.
And that's really fascinating. Unfortunately, it started in an episode of Boba Fett.
Yes.
Also, like, next week, do we stick with Din to go see Grogu next week? Is that the plan?
It's kind of what it feels like, but I don't know.
It just kind of feels like now that the next episode is going to be Boba Fett setting up. I thought this episode was going to be Boba Fett setting up for the final 2-part conclusion.
And now it's a 1-part, like, because we need setup. We need some setup, so the conclusion, I think, is going to be shorter than...
It reminds me of Hawkeye when we got to the final episode and we were like, wow, they have to do a lot in the final episode. And then they did a lot in the final episode and it actually really worked. Like, I thought the finale of Hawkeye was the best episode of that show and was a really successful episode of television in terms of emotional storytelling and payoffs and, you know, leaving things open for the future, but also really ending that show. Mm-hmm. So I'm hopeful that, much like Hawkeye's first few episodes, where I thought there were some bumps and there was some weirdness in that, I think that the value of them having a really strong finale that ties all of what we've seen in Boba Fett together, I think that they can pull this off in the end, because this episode was so strong. Mm-hmm. And I really do think there's potential here. Yeah. I don't know where it's going, because, like, are we going to go see Grogu and Luke next episode? That would feel weird. If we go another episode without seeing Boba Fett, like... Yeah,
it's going to be weird. I really don't know what their plan is.
And going to see Grogu and Luke should be a whole episode.
Thing. Yeah,
Maybe not a Mandalorian thing. Maybe the show is just chapter 3 and we just have to accept that. But at the very least, we should get a whole episode of what's going on there.
Yeah, you can't give us 15 minutes
The
of that.
First live action representation of Luke's Jedi School, and it's going to be a scene on Boba Fett. Like, I want it to be at least an episode, and then that becomes complicated. Unless... we bring all the Jedis down, and the Jedis help us take out the Pikes.
I don't think the
Luke goes home for the first time to stop the Pikes from being drug dealers on his home planet. That's not a bad story. Din shows up and is like, "Hey, Luke, I know you're from Tatooine. Do you want to go take out some drug dealers in your hometown?"
I don't know. That feels pretty cheap.
What do you mean cheap? That feels it's very expensive.
The show
de-aging Mark Hamill for a whole episode of drug dealer kills?
No, that just totally undercuts Boba Fett. This is Boba Fett's show.
I know, but Boba Fett and Luke have a relationship.
No, Boba Fett.
No. Boba Fett ended up in the Sarlacc because of Luke Skywalker.
No, I don't think...
He did.
Look, I think that would be like a fun way to end the series. I don't think that would be a good way to end the series, because Boba Fett needs to show his strength, not Luke's strength.
But what if Boba Fett's strength moving forward isn't his own strength? What if it is his ability to get people to help him? That's what the lesson of the Tuskens is.
If people are just like scared that he's gonna call the Jedi, then of course I just
think it would allow us to have the scene where Luke walks into the throne room of Jabba's palace once more to argue with the leader of that throne, and it goes a different way. Because to show us that Boba Fett has changed, he works with the Jedi, and, like, you know what I mean? Like, there would be a valuable shot, and honestly, a really cool shot to see Luke walk down those stairs again and be like, I stood here once before because of you. You got my friend almost killed, and then you almost died because of it. It really would pay off without having to bring in Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo or D.H. Harrison Ford. It would allow them to pay off the Sarlacc story and how Boba Fett ended up in the Sarlacc, and see Boba Fett come face to face with the reason that he almost died in the Sarlacc pit and have to show forgiveness and work with his former enemy. Like, there is valuable thematic storytelling in that and emotional storytelling for Boba Fett. And Luke Skywalker and Boba Fett team up to take out drug dealers is a great finale.
I don't know. It's just weird. Honestly, like, Boba Fett feels like a secondary character in his own show. And I don't think that really... I don't know.
I don't agree with that. I think in the first 4 episodes, he's definitely the protagonist. Because he's the only one who's in the flashbacks and the present, right?
I guess. Yeah.
And he has the biggest arc of the show so far. We've seen him go through a lot.
I don't know.
I know it's not your favorite.
I understand. Like, it would be cool. And I don't know.
Isn't that enough? No. Well... In the comments down below, let us know who you agree with. Do you want Luke to show up or not? I think that Luke and Grogu, they could show how much Grogu's learned, and Grogu could use the Force to take out drug dealers. Come on. Wouldn't that be rad?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it just be the coolest? Like, it would be the best ending to the show.
But
Boba Fett and Luke back to back against the Pikes?
Look, I honestly thought that what was cool, I know people aren't enjoying like the present of Boba Fett. I actually think that like the whole political aspect and that side of it is really interesting to me. And so if they just like kind of cut that out for this, that's fine. But it's not really what I want.
Oh, I think episode 6 is going to be that. I just think episode 7 is going to be the action finale. I think we're going to get both, right? I think we're going to get the political finale, or episode 6 will be the action finale, and then episode 7 will be the political and like emotional finale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it, so I'm gonna go think about it.
It's probably not gonna happen, so I don't think you have to worry too much. Is there a way that they could pay this off that you like? Do you think so, considering how like mixed you are on the show so far?
You know, I don't know. It's kind of tough just because of what they did with the Tusken Raiders. Mm-hmm. I really don't know how I feel about the show right now, if I'm being totally honest. So I don't know.
This episode won me over. I'm like 1,000% in now.
But this was The Mandalorian. This wasn't Boba Fett.
But they're all the same thing. I think that what this episode says is that it's all the same thing.
But this was not.
You just have to exist with the story. You have to see the story as the whole story because these people are too related to each other.
It's not a whole story. I wanted Boba Fett's story.
And we're getting it. Boba Fett is about his tribe now. This is the story of how Boba Fett isn't about Boba Fett.
Yeah, but Boba Fett
knows
is not
it's about his tribe.
Mandalore and the Dark Saber and the armor. Like that, none of that has to do with Boba Fett.
But it might in season 3 of Mandalorian. Boba Fett, Mandalorian having access to the former Hutt trade lanes around Tatooine because of the relationship between Din and Boba Fett. That's a good team up. Mandalore plus the throne of Mos Espa, that's there's some political power in the universe right there.
Sure, I don't know. I think you're being very forgiving because it's cool Star Wars.
I don't understand how that's forgiving. I think that's just what I want in my life.
It's like when people throw things in there to like satisfy like the fans, even though it's not really like part of the story.
But it would be the continuation of the story because it would directly relate to Boba Fett and Luke standing on that skiff above the Sarlacc before the inciting incident of Boba Fett's story.
I'm not saying that I hate it. I just don't know if I like it or if that's what I wanted from this.
I know, but I don't think anybody's getting what they wanted from this show. We're getting the show that we're getting, and I think that would be an ending that most people would be on board with. I think most the toxic Star Wars fans that have been upset until now, they would be like, I mean, we got Boba Fett and Luke back to back fighting Pikes on the seas of Tatooine. Like that would pay off a lot of the desire.
We're not trying to cater towards the toxic dude bros.
No, but I'm saying I'm saying it would work for most people on all sides of it, right? Like I would love to see them go back to back in a scene where they're surrounded by Pikes and it's Luke, Boba Fett, and Din Djarin fighting the Pikes, and Fennec Shand is in the distance with her sniper just picking them off. Yeah. Like I think, oh my god,
I don't know. I guess we'll see.
We will 2 weeks from now. But we will be back next week with the next episode. If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, totally understand. Hit that dislike button. You can't see the dislikes, but we can, and we will cry ourselves to sleep at night. As always, you can follow us around the internet. I'm at Nerdy Nightly.
And I'm at Claris Polaris.
Ooh, a little name change for the Clarooster. And as always, y'all, do something nerdy tonight.
Bye.